Welcome back. We continue with another miraculous story of outdoor survival. A 12-year-old boy encounters a rattlesnake in the woods near his home. When the serpent strikes, the boy's life is at stake. But he's not worried. What does he know that his doctors and parents don't? On a Sunday afternoon in 1988, 12-year-old Mark Durrance was taking off for a hike in the woods.
Bye, Mom. You be careful.
While his mother, Debbie, finished up in the kitchen and his father, Bobby, worked out in the yard, Mark set off for a little adventure. Mark had been repeatedly warned by his parents that the woods were infested with rattlesnakes, but that didn't stop him from exploring the area. Today, he was about to discover how important his parents' warnings had been. It was a sudden strike, the snake's fangs piercing his pants and breaking through his flesh. As the snake's poisonous venom surged through Mark's body, his legs became numb, refusing to hold his weight as he fell helpless to the ground. Mark's home was 150 yards away, too far for him to crawl and too far for his parents to hear his cries of pain. If he didn't get help quickly, the poison would attack his blood, destroy vital organs, and Mark could internally bleed to death. Facing certain death, the young boy then experienced an amazing event. He suddenly found himself back in his home, 150 yards away from the spot where he lay paralyzed a moment before.
As soon as he hit the floor, I ran over to him, and I pulled off his shoe, and there was this huge, absolutely huge, purple mass that was already coming up on his foot.
With their phone out of order, his parents' only hope to save their son's life was to drive him to the hospital, 17 miles away.
I knew we were losing him. I had his mouth to my cheek, and there was very little breath, and I knew that we were really pushing for time, and I knew we had to get him there.
But several miles from the hospital, Bobby Durrance's truck overheated. Mark's father tried to flag down passing cars, but no one would stop. In a panic, Bobby carried his son's lifeless body into the middle of the road.
That's a bad feeling, to be out there on the road and son in your arms dying, you know, one of your kids, and nobody helps.
Hey, stop!
Finally, someone stopped. Bobby loaded his wife and dying son into the car, and they raced to the hospital.
Take him in. Take him in.
Mark's pediatrician, Dr. Susan Short, did not know if the boy would live.
He wasn't breathing on his own. He wasn't talking or responding to anything at that time. His blood vessels had just clamped down, and circulation was diminished. This was the worst I've ever seen.
Mark was injected with several vials of anti-venom, the only hope to stop the poison in its tracks. The only thing left to do was to sit and wait.
You feel hopeless. You feel like the only thing you can do is keep that faith, because there's nothing else you can do. It's out of your hands. Even the doctors said it's out of their hands.
While his parents waited, they kept wondering how their son, suffering from the severe effects of a snake bite, could have possibly made it through the woods and back home. When Mark regained consciousness 2 days later, he told them the miraculous story of his survival.
After the bite, I felt very weak, and my eyes were blurred. I couldn't really see a whole lot. I felt very paralyzed, like I couldn't move at all. And that's when I felt my body being lifted up off the ground. It was a man in a white robe with a red belt, and there was a light around his head. And when we got to the stairs, I remember him saying that I was going to be all right, that everything would be fine.
Because he was 150 yards away from the house, with a severe bite as it was, and knowing the shape that he was in when I found him on the floor, I knew that he would have never made it. Without some kind of a miracle, he would have never made it.
For Mark, that miracle came in the form of a mysterious white-robed man who carried him across a distance he could never have traveled on his own to safety that day. Whoever that figure was, Mark Durrance owes him his life, a life that has been touched by a miracle.